When it comes to exercise, there are few things as important as spinal positioning. The positioning and placement of our spine is ultimately going to dictate the load that is sent through it. Unfavorable load over an extended period of time is going to create a whole host of different problems, such as disc herniations, disc bulges, and other issues throughout the spine. So in today's video, we're going to go over 3 different exercises to optimize spinal positioning so we can increase the health and function of our spine for the years to come. In order for us to optimize spinal positioning, we first have to understand where neutral or optimal spinal positioning lies. So for our first exercise, we're going to start with going over a basic spinal flexion. What this is going to entail is us getting into a all fours position on the floor, and ideally getting our knees directly underneath our hips and our hands directly underneath our shoulders. And what we are going to attempt to do here is not only put our spine into a neutral position, but more importantly, our rib cage. So what I'm going to do here first is put a point of focus on my shoulder blades and where my shoulder blades are in space. Ideally, we want to think about actually pressing into the floor to get our scapulas or our shoulder blades away from our spine. This is going to take the musculature in around our rhomboids, in around our traps, and ideally put it into a little bit more of a lengthened state. An easy way to tell if you're in proper shoulder positioning is that the shoulders themselves should be flush on the rib cage. If you're getting any type of excessive retraction or winging of the scapula, then it's likely that you're not creating enough force into the ground to try to create that flushness and stability in around the shoulder joint. So now that we got the shoulder set, let's start to look at the rib cage here. And what we are going to prioritize is working a exhalation of our breath. A lot of people tend to be fixated in the inhalation phase of their breath, which puts the spine and the rib cage into this chronically extended state. So what we're going to focus on here is taking really strong exhalations and trying to shift our rib cage slightly backward so that we can emphasize a little bit more of this flexion or rounding, ideally through our thoracic spine. So as you can see here, my lower back is staying relatively neutral. I'm going to ideally not go into any flexion of the lumbar, and we're going to primarily focus it on kind of the upper half of our spine. Once we get the rib cage into this positioning, what we're going to focus on is trying to keep a baseline of resistance in that exhaled state. By keeping this resistance on the front side of our body, it kind of creates the wall of resistance that we can then breathe against. And by breathing against this resistance, what ultimately starts to happen is we get more length through the backside or through the entirety of our spine. As you can see, this puts my spine into more of a lengthened state, but it also restores that natural curvature that our spine is anatomically optimized for. For our second exercise, we are going to go through the rotational quad pad. For this exercise, we're going to take a lot of the principles that we are creating in our first exercise, and we are going to apply it to this one. So to start with, we're going to make sure that the shoulders are in a good position and that the rib cage is also in that more neutral state. Once we have the rib cage and the spine in neutral, what we're going to start to do is take our right arm off the ground, and we are going to gently start to reach towards the left elbow as we simultaneously shift our pelvis back almost into a child's pose position. From the bottom position, what we're going to focus on is almost pulling a rope with that arm that's tucked underneath, and we are slowly going to start to shift weight back to our hands as we rotate back to our right. And what's happening here is I'm taking my spine through its entire range of motion, from a flexion to a little bit of extension, all while going through my thoracic rotation. And by taking the spine from this flexed state to a little bit more of an extended one while we are rotating, we're mimicking a lot of the programming and patterning that we would find ourselves doing on a day-to-day basis. Once we get to the end range of motion, what I'm going to think about here is trying to connect my obliques as I gently start to sit my hips back and then I'm gonna reach my arm back under once again. This whole cycle will repeat itself just from one side to the other, and we're gonna aim to do about 10 to 12 repetitions per side. So now that we understand where neutral positioning is, as well as what the spine should feel like as it moves from this more flexed to extended state, let's move into our favorite part of our program, which is adding a rhythm to it. So what we're gonna do is grab a baseball bat, you can grab a kettlebell, you can grab a dumbbell, really anything that is gonna generate a rhythm, and we're gonna work through a alternating kettlebell switch. So for this exercise, we are gonna be standing, but ideally we are gonna be taking the principles of the ribcage and spinal positioning that we were focusing on and just trying to apply that to a standing position. From here, we are gonna start to swing our tool of choice, just simply back and forth to the outside of our hip. And what I want you to focus on is just having a baseline of integrity, of tension in through the abdomen, as we just allow our T-spine or our upper body to rotate from side to side here. Once we kind of get the gist of that rhythm on one side, what we're gonna start to do is alternate this from one side to the other. So what's gonna happen is my arm is going to swing back, and then as I rotate my upper body and my hand starts to come to my midline, I'm gonna switch to the other hand and then simultaneously catch that rhythm as I rotate the opposite way. Now, once you start to get the hang of the exchange and the rhythm from one side to the other, what you can start to do here is two things. We can start to increase how fast or how much momentum is being created. And then in conjunction with that, we can start to increase the range of motion that our spine as well as our arms are going through. I like to use this exercise as a warm-up or even as a cool down in some contexts of my workouts. And for this exercise, we can work a relatively high rep count. We're gonna work anywhere between 15 to 18 repetitions per side. So when it comes to improving the health of the spine, we wanna make sure that we're not only looking at the spine itself. As you can see, the shoulders, the rib cage, and really everything that is involved in rotation is going to contribute to the health of our spine over the long term. So take your time going through these exercises, and you can use them as a precursor to your workout, to your sport, or if you are just looking for a way to make sure that your spine is staying mobile from day to day. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is take your time through these exercises. Try not to just blow through them and then never do them again. Try to make a practice out of it. And throughout that practice, see if you can build a relationship with your body. Because after all, you only get one. And the sooner that you can start taking care of your body, the sooner it will start taking care of you. If you like this video, make sure to throw it a like, as well as subscribe to the channel for more future content similar to this. Until next time, make sure you are prioritizing, and then you are optimizing for you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.